So this rounds up the first heat of public speakers. We are now starting on the writers. And for that, I will step down and ask Ingrid de Beer and Lucy Hawkins of BBC World News to take over the presentation of the writing section. Enjoy yourselves.
Well, University College students of Utrecht University read all the text, all the 19 entries, and they do a course called Academic English, in which they learn how to give effective presentations and how to write academic texts as well. And their English language trainer is Greetje Reewijk, and she couldn't be here today, but she definitely guided the process. And the first selection round was to read the text individually, then the students read the text in groups, and then they had to write a report about it.
I like sports, and there's also a very original subject, I feel. There is someone else who also wrote about the Olympics, but he has taken a wholly different approach than I have, I feel. And, well, I don't feel that we always need to write about these big issues like global warming. I feel sports is fair enough.
Ingrid, what do you think Matthias thought of the Olympics last year?
Oh, well, you may have read it yourselves as well. He thought it was very much a spectacle, but perhaps too much of a theatre as well, too much theatre play. And it kind of ignored the values of the Olympics, which are fair play, team spirit, dignity in defeat. And for him, the Olympics were really like a commercial for high-tech swimsuits and performance-enhancing drugs and inhumane training regimes, and they were not about real sports, really.
You won't be surprised to hear this, but Matthias thinks real sport is football. We were very keen to see him, weren't we? Because he very strongly comes across as being a football fan.
My teacher actually pointed out that there's this very funny children's rhyme that's "How now, brown cow." It doesn't really mean anything, it's just nonsense, but it kind of fitted in my piece of writing, so I used it. And because I also found a very interesting person on the internet called Seth Godin, he wrote a book called Purple Cow. I sort of changed it and it became How Now, Purple Cow.
Fitting and or standing out then, what's Vlada's message, Ingrid?
She asked the question really why you should fit in rather than stand out. I mean, what is so bad about standing out? And as an example, she gives the American people, and they're not afraid to be the fastest and the funniest. She thinks that there are great advantages in standing out. People think out of the box, like Roos told us as well, and people come up with great inventions in that way.
What about her advice to us?
Oh, she wants us all to be courageous, different, and a purple cow.
I've been always fond of writing in some form or another. I started my own local newspaper at the age of 7. I've participated in several writing competitions over the years in English and Dutch and French. I'm the columnist of the local school paper. So when my teacher asked me to participate in BBC Awards, it seemed just like a logical step to me.
The title of his essay is Across the North Sea at the Touch of a Button, and he mentions in his story, and you'll see when you read it, that he doesn't want to move to England, although I'm surprised because he's quite the Anglophile, isn't he?
I would say so. I mean, if you are off from school and then you start watching BBC programmes on television, you must be an Anglophile. Really, and I can really picture that, you being there and trying to understand British lifestyle in that way.
It's quite a journalistic piece. It was very relaxed, we thought, and humorous. It was good structurally as well.
Yes, it was. And we could even think of you as a journalist in that sense. And it was very personal too, not only in the structural sense, but it was also very personal.
I've lived here for almost 9 years already. I think I am Dutch, but I also have the ability to step outside of my Dutchness and look at the way things go around here. In short, I'd like to teach the Dutch the art of subtlety.
I have to say, I laughed out loud when I read to Tina's essay, and it was really brought home to me some of the points she made when we got the train together back from The Hague last night, and I was sitting with a group of Dutch people who spent at least 10 minutes discussing the price of the ticket, how they could get a discount, what was the best way to get from The Hague to Amsterdam, what was the cheapest way, and something she discusses in her essay. She's got wonderful examples of her views of the Dutch.
Yes, and one of those examples then is indeed that the Dutch are seen as cheap, she thinks, and they're over self-confident and very direct in their way of speaking. And about this being cheap, she quotes, and she said, "The Dutch shopper is by definition a bargain hunter."
He thinks that the rest of the world definitely has something to teach the Dutch, Ingrid.
Indeed, but on the other hand, are the Dutch wanting to be taught? I mean, aren't they too self-confident to be taught all these qualities of being more generous and less self-confident and less direct?
I suppose to stand out in the BBC Awards competition, it's all about what you've written or what you're saying. It's about your ideas being original, and I like that kind of standing out. It's not about your clothes or your appearance, it's about your talent.
The extended metaphor that Maaike uses is the circle. And there are lots of people standing in the circle, and they all get the nice labels, Maaike says, like friendly, charming, and sympathetic. But there are also people standing outside the circle, and these are called abnormal people. They might be called quiet, strange, socially inept. So there's an extended metaphor, and that comes back throughout the text.
And as you can probably tell from these words, it was a very personal piece, and that's in a way what makes it a very engaging piece as well, would you say, Ingrid?
It does, definitely. And she does have a message of she would like to see the gap closed between abnormal people and normal people, because we should all work together. We need each other, she says.
I kind of feel for you, because actually I was one who stood out and didn't fit in, and well, you can combine the two. And thank you, Vlada, especially for, standing up for the purple cow. We are more than halfway through this competition, and I'm sure I see a couple of very relieved faces and a few others with some heartbeats going on still. That's the ones that will come up after the intermission.
Waking up in the morning, flashing lights inside your brain. You pick yourself off the ground to begin your newborn day. Put on your shirt, your baggy jeans, and your roughed up coat. As you walk down the stairs, you realize you have no place to go. See a blue sky in the dark. And you watch time.
Welcome back, jury. Welcome back, question team. Where is my timekeeper? Welcome back, Jan Bakker. Let us, without much more ado, start with the second heat of young speakers.